Joel Ybarra,
Yes, sir.
welcome to the show, man. Thank you, and it's nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, man, like I was telling you just now, I've been trying to get someone to talk about fishing
Yep.
because fishing it's one of my passions, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But when I see someone that is very good at it, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because to me, at some point I thought it was about technique and there's
Right.
no luck, but then I fish with some people that they're just lucky. So what do you think is going on, man?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of both, obviously. Technique, depending on where you're fishing and stuff like that. Just, either if you're going to use bait or lures, depending on where you're fishing, you want to be using the correct setup,
Yeah.
bait, lures as well. And obviously luck, that obviously comes along with
Yeah.
it.
You know what? Let me give you a little introduction because you run Prodigy Fishing,
Correct.
which is a actual you do fishing charters,
Charter
right?
business.
Yeah,
Correct.
you're a professional fisherman. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You take people out,
Correct.
mostly shark fishing, correct?
Yeah, correct.
But you do all kinds of fishing, like
I do all kinds of fishing. This past year in the fall, around September, October, I started doing bait fishing as well. So that's something I do as well. But primarily I tend to shark fishing is what I primarily do.
Okay.
Mhm.
How old are you? You said.
I'm 29 years old.
When did you started doing this charter stuff?
It's been going on 5 years now already. So I've been actually in March. It will be for 5 years. I will be up and going. As far as chartering and guiding as a business and as full-time job as well. So it's something I do full time.
When you started, were you a little bit nervous, like because like I go well. Not as much as before, but I go a lot fishing.
Right.
And sometimes, man, or most of the time, I come back empty-handed, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's luck of the draw. Obviously, it's fishing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could be doing the right thing and this, you could be fishing the same place as yesterday and you were catching all these fish and sometimes just the fish aren't there. So, going back to that, I kind of don't get nervous about it because obviously it is fishing. That's something that you just have to, deal with in a way, and know going out there when you're going fishing, like I tell everybody, it's called fishing, not catching. But primarily we do pretty good. The odds are very high as long as the conditions are correct. As long as it's not hurricane conditions out there, fishing is pretty good. And I, feel pretty confident in what I do. And
what age did you started fishing?
I was a little kid, so something that my dad brought.
Your dad
upon
was
me.
a big fisherman.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was maybe 5 years old, if that. As far as I can remember, I had a fishing rod.
Yeah.
Or going out hunting with my dad. So just being in the outdoors is
Being
what I
in the
was
outdoors.
raised doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess at some point you were growing up and then you started going fishing on your own. And at some point you're like, man, I'm kind of good at it. So I can do this for a business.
Right.
And that's what happened 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, because
So pretty much even before that, after as soon as I was able to drive my own vehicle and go out to the beach, it's something I did with friends and family and stuff. And pretty much right after high school, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah.
Just going fishing and doing everything, all types of fishing. Bay fishing, freshwater fishing, surf fishing, jetty fishing. There's a lot of different areas you could fish, and it's just something I love to do.
This is what happened with me. Like I remember when I was a kid and with family, a couple times with my dad. My dad he was not a big fisherman, but he would take us to the beach and he'll take a rod. And but what I remember, and it was super excited for me, right? But we were just throwing bait pretty much and just waiting.
Right.
To get something to hit. And it was super excited for me because I was a kid, right? But then getting a little bit older, that's the only type of fishing that I knew, So I was doing the same thing and I enjoy being in the outdoors, with friends now on my own.
Right.
But to me, it was like, okay, if this is fishing, this is boring. Like you're just waiting. Sometimes you only get catfishes. You know how it is, right?
Right.
So because I never went fishing with anybody else. Just with some family, and that's all they knew. Like just put a
Throw a line out.
yeah, throw the line out with some bait and just hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I was like, man, nah, this is boring. This is dumb, to be honest. And then, so I stay away from fishing.
Right.
I was still an outdoors guy. I love camping and going out hunting with people that would invite me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was in the military for 4 years. And when I came back, I started working. And then some people from work, this is back in like 2008,
Mm-hmm.
they took me out fishing. And I was like, all right, let's get some bait.
Kind of
And they're
go
like,
back out there.
Yeah. I was like, what? No, sir, we don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We just use lures. And
Right.
I had seen lures before at the stores and stuff, but I thought that you put them on and then you throw in like if they were bait.
You're right. And
You know what I mean? I actually probably found some old tackle on my dad's old fishing box, tackle box, and I would put him on and just throw him and just wait, but that doesn't work.
Right.
So that's like I guess I just didn't have any clue.
Mm-hmm.
So these people were showing me, oh man, there's different types of lures that you're gonna use depending on the conditions, depending on the fish you have to that you want to catch, and you have to work that lure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, depending on how the bottom of the the body of water that you're fishing at,
whether you're fishing
all
grass or sand.
So when they started teaching me that there's more technique than just chunking bait,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, and I got hooked
Right.
immediately. Especially because on that first trip with them,
Yeah.
I remember catching a big trout.
Oh,
So
a
it
trout.
was, a
Mhm.
big trout, and people were like, dude, that's a really nice. It was probably just like a 22-inch trout.
Right.
But for me, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
In that first trip, they showed me something different, and I catch a,
Kind of got you hooked.
Yeah. And from
The
then, it
excitement
was
of
it was game over. I was into buying gear, more fishing rods, and man, game over.
Yeah.
I was into fishing after that. So I don't know if you have any experience like that. Like
Just growing up with my dad, I could kind of, it was the same concept.
Mhm.
As a little kid, obviously we would, he would help me cast my bait out and stuff because as a little kid, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
work a lure and stuff. So as I
Yeah.
was, I kind of,
because we don't have like the patience,
the
right?
patience and stuff
To be
like
working
that.
it. You're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. So, as a kid, we would go, out to the beach or to the jetties and stuff. And, he would give me my bait and stuff and I would throw it out there and, just catch fish here and there. And it's something just I enjoyed. And then as I got older, I
Mhm.
would see him, fishing with lures and stuff like that. So then I, started doing into that. And it's kind of the same concept. It's like once
Yeah.
you catch that one fish that you remember,
yeah.
it's like it just keeps you wanting to go back,
You still remember that one fish or no?
Yeah, it was a trout also.
Also?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. We can get into the equipment, but that's a rabbit hole. Like I
Right.
don't know how much money I had spent on just fishing gear
Oh yeah.
throughout my years.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a couple thousands
Oh yeah.
of dollars, man. Like I'm assuming that for what you do,
Mm-hmm.
it's way more expensive, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah.
So what's the process about shark fishing? Like is that your main thing? Shark fishing?
Shark fishing is pretty much what I mainly do. Like I said, I have I got a boat. I do bait fishing trips as well and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I do a lot of that as well. But my main thing is the shark fishing. That's what I just have a passion for. What I love to do. Obviously, sharks. It's a little bit different, and it's kind of like a lot of people I have taken a lot of people that have never done it.
Mhm.
And when they first experience it, they get hooked. They just the excitement of catching a shark and fighting it and feeling something with that much power.
Yes.
And then once you bring it in, I take them through the process of, bringing in the shark up to the edge of the water, taking the hook out, having them take a picture
Mm.
and feel the shark. And then, depending if they want to, if they
Yeah.
feel comfortable, I, help them release the shark as well. So we release pretty much 99% of the sharks as well.
Yeah.
So, it's just an experience and people just, the excitement, and I'm to a point where it brings me joy, like I get more excitement and
Yeah.
joy out of seeing people catch a fish like that
Yeah.
than me myself,
Yeah, when you
which
know it's gonna be a good one, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And
oh
don't
man, this
get
is
me
gonna
wrong,
be
I
a
still love doing it.
yeah.
I get excited every time. It doesn't matter the size of the shark.
Yeah.
It still gets
Do
me
you-
excited. But I see more joy and get more joy out of it.
Yeah,
Versus
you're
seeing
you're
people.
looking at them, right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
waiting for that smile when you're
Mhm.
like, okay, they're about to see how big it
Right.
is, and they're gonna
Yeah, and
do
especially
that.
since I take a lot of families, there's a lot of kids involved. Especially since what I do, it's off the beach fishing,
Mhm.
so it's very comfortable for the families, for the people, and the kids seeing the kids. It's
What
excitement
do you fish here at the island
on
or
South Padre, correct?
South Padre?
Mhm.
Everything you do is in South
South
Padre.
Padre, yep.
Man, for everybody that's listening, go into that Prodigy Fishing Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and I seen some of the sharks that you have caught.
Mm-hmm.
Big tiger sharks, hammerheads.
Right.
Uh, they're big, man.
Mm-hmm.
People don't
Yeah.
think that we have
Yeah,
that
a
kind
lot
of
of people
sharks.
don't think that those sharks are on our beaches.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people like to go to the island. They like to go out to eat. Just venture around the island and do the normal family activities. But there's more to it, and there's also a lot more to the island as well. People think that it's just solely you get off the bridge and you hit the strip, you go to your restaurants and the hotels, and then that's it. If you go to the end of the road, pretty much where the road ends,
Yeah.
keep going north, there's still 25 miles more of beach. So as soon as you hit that dead end, if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle and you drive on the beach, you could drive for 25 miles, no phone service, no nothing. So there's a lot more to it. If you want to adventure.
That's all the way to the cut on
all the
Port
way
Mansfield, right?
to the cut near Port
Yeah.
Mansfield. And that's typically where I obviously do a lot of my fishing as well. I try to obviously stay away from the crowds,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of venture out there. And that's also another thing, if sometimes my clients don't have 4-wheel drive or a 4-wheel drive vehicle, so I will take them in my vehicle out to the destination where we're going to fish, which is obviously away from the crowds, away from the people, past the end of the road,
But
yeah.
But it doesn't take much to get away from the crowd, because once you drive 4 or 5 miles,
yeah, as long as you go just a little bit
you'll
past the
see
end
a
of the
truck
road.
every
so often.
Every so often. It's very, very, very few fishermen that go all the way because of the 4x4. Sometimes it's
Correct.
rough.
Yeah, sometimes you do need 4-wheel drive. So
one time I saw a Toyota Corolla make it all the way to the Port
yeah,
Mansfield.
there's just some days that the tide
It depends on
pushes
the tide,
out. The tide pushes out real low. You could drive a car all the way down there, but when that tide comes back up, you might not be able to get back. So you obviously, got to be watching the tides and the weather and stuff like that. 'Cause,
What's the biggest shark that you have?
the biggest shark so far is almost a little over 14 foot. It was almost a 14 and a half foot hammerhead. That we caught it.
Hammerheads get freaking huge here.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I seen some on the bay
Mm-hmm.
from a boat, obviously.
Right.
And I see them chasing. Once I saw them chasing a tarpon.
Oh, really?
But they're chasing fish. They're in the bay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As you go into the island,
Mm-hmm.
on the right side of the causeway,
Correct.
on that bay, I try to fish there.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, when I'm kind of like lazy, I don't want to go all the way over there. I'll just stop there and wait fish. But I was with a buddy of mine, and we were in a boat, and I see this huge hammerhead.
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously a hammerhead. You can easily identify those. And I was like, dude, I fish all this area sometimes, man. And hammerheads do get sometimes they do get aggressive, right?
Yeah, they can
It's
get
rare. It's
territorial.
rare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they do get aggressive sometimes, and I don't know. But so a 14-foot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about tiger sharks? Like
tiger sharks, yeah, they get very big. Also, they get almost around the same size. The biggest one I got on South Padre was a little over 12 and a half feet. And but very, very big. It was a big female. Those typically we get in the fall.
Yeah, they get thick, right?
Oh yeah. Those we get in the fall, pretty much around, I want to say, getting into August is primarily. You could catch them in the summer. You could summertime, as soon as that water warms up, the hammerheads come in, tiger sharks come in as well. But when you get them a lot more consistently, or the time for them is going to be around August all the way through October. Typically.
Does your father do a lot of shark fishing, or that's something that you learn on your own?
That's well, He did a little bit back in the day. Him and his friends, like
Mm,
obviously, he would always go fishing with his friends, and I would always be watching them, and fishing on my
yeah.
own as well, obviously, but just kind of watching and being observant of everything, and just
I ain't never done it.
yeah.
That's why I'm gonna. So what's the process and what is the actual gear that you need? Because if I go with my the some of the rods that I have
hmm
and I hook into one of those big sharks, it's like I'm never gonna be able to pull them out.
Yeah,
So
it's
so what
definitely
is what
something
like
you want to be prepared
yeah? Tell
for.
us a little bit of like the process and the gear
Right.
that
So
you need.
some of the sharks that I'm targeting, especially anything over 10 feet in length,
Hmm.
it's not gonna be no Walmart combo for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
So a lot of the stuff I get is custom built, custom made as well from the fishing rods. The reels are ordered as well online. They're pretty much as offshore reels.
hmm
So we typically use 80 wide sized reels. So it's pretty much one of the biggest reels that you could use. They have obviously different sizes. So
yeah.
yeah,
And
and
the reason is because he holds a lot of line. That way
holds a
you
lot of
can
line. Correct. Yeah.
throw it
So
out, pass.
typically I have my 80 wide reel.
Hmm.
With the typically it's a custom 10-foot rod that I use, heavy duty, obviously,
Yeah.
rated like almost 200 pound. So typically, once I get that together, then I run 200 pound braided line,
200 pound
200
braided.
200 pound braided line on the reel. And typically you're running anywhere from about 1,500 yards to 2,000 yards, just depending on how much you could fit on the reel and the size of
Mm,
the reel you have, because obviously there's different sizes.
yeah.
So something like that is what you want to have if you're going to target a fish. If you're going to be putting a big bait
Of
and
course. Yeah.
targeting something around the 10-foot range, you want to have the correct setup.
Yeah.
Obviously, because if you hook into something and you're not prepared for it, either you could lose the fish, or if you do land it, more than likely you're going to fight it for a long time and it will die, obviously from exhaustion.
Oh, I see.
So you want to be be prepared, have the right setup, and not only that, just be
Yeah.
prepared for if that's something you get into, for when you do catch that fish, how you're going to release it.
Mm,
So you want to have everything
got it.
accordingly.
Makes sense. See, I mean, I kind of same thing happens with smaller fish, right?
Correct.
But if you don't have the proper gear, it's gonna fight you for a long time. So it's
Right.
gonna be exhausted, and
hmm
you're not gonna be able
Same
to
thing if you were to
release
catch a
it
big
back, right?
bull red or something, just targeting trout
Yeah.
or something.
So the right gear,
Mhm.
uh, it has to have the capacity to pull that shark in
Correct.
a shorter amount of time.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to bring it in as quickly as you can. Obviously, not drag the fish in, but just bring it in as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Fight it. And it is a fight.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
because even if you have the best gear, you're not
Yeah.
gonna you're not gonna drag him
hmm
into the shore. I mean, it's gonna take you a while, but you
Yeah.
wanted to. Yeah, I see. So taking the bait out. w- I mean, what do you use a kayak or?
So yeah. So when I first originally started, we started with kayaking baits out into the ocean, which obviously dangerous but fun. It's a little bit tedious. Obviously, you have to
Yeah,
be.
especially if it's wavy.
Yeah,
Like
you
just
definitely
going down
have
it.
to be on your A game for that. You have to be very experienced as well.
Okay,
Don't just go out into the surf.
take the line with the kayak.
Yeah, because obviously a lot of things could go wrong just from past experience. You get flipped on a wave,
Hmm.
tangled up in the leader, a hook in you. That's just things that can happen and are bound to happen.
Yeah.
So that's one way we started kayaking. Then jet ski as well. I have a jet ski that we use to deploy the baits.
Yeah.
So we'll jet ski the baits out into the ocean, and then drone as well. So
Is that the newest thing or what?
yeah, it's the newest thing right now. I mean, they
It's
supposedly
convenient,
made, yeah, as
easier,
of
right?
from what I heard last, they actually banned them. Not sure why,
For
but
fishing?
for fishing, yeah,
Oh,
not sure why. I've talked to a few
so what are you
wardens.
using right now?
Jet ski,
Oh, jet ski.
jet ski. Yep.
It's just easier, right?
Yeah, it's a lot easier. Yeah, I talked to, and it's still kind of like a gray area. They say it's something that's not very, I guess you could say it's kind of like a gray area, that they're not that
Hmm.
they're not enforcing it, but just kind of like, it's a gray area.
Yeah.
It was mainly a thing for hunting, because people were using drones for hunting and stuff like that.
Oh,
So it kind of fell in between the boundary line of fishing and hunting, so
I see. Yeah,
but
because I guess I'm with the drone, you
mhm.
can. see the deer and stuff like that?
People would also use thermal imaging on the drones to locate animals and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. And
Some
then
people
move
were
into
using
the
it to recover an animal, if they wounded one, and then some people were using them to hunt and stuff. So
Yeah.
it kind of led to
For the recovery, it makes sense,
right.
right? Because if you kill something and
Yeah.
you don't want to leave it out to waste.
Yeah,
So
but I
it
guess
makes
it
sense.
started getting to where people were using them
To also
to find the animal,
and kill it. Oh, I see.
So it kind of created
Yeah.
a gray area in the fishing aspect for it. Same thing as using the camera to go and locate fish.
Yeah.
They
I hear that as long as you take your bait past the, what is it called? The third
the sandbar. Yeah.
sandbar,
Mm-hmm.
that you can find sharks.
Oh, yeah,
that's big. Or how far do you take them out?
So typically, if I'm going to be targeting a larger shark, I'm going to be probably behind the third sandbar. I've
Mhm.
caught them even closer sometimes. We've
Yeah.
caught in
Depending on the condition, right?
Yeah, depending on the conditions, we've caught in 7-8 foot hammerheads. In the first and second gut. Typically where people are swimming.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the time of year, and a lot of
I seen the black tips go all the way
depending
to,
on what bait is in the water is how close they're going to be coming in. But a lot of the sharks are, believe it or not, closer than people think.
yeah.
So typically I'm dropping just right behind the third sandbar, anywhere from 100 yards off the beach all the way till 400 or 500 yards off the beach is typically where I'm targeting my sharks.
Yeah. Were you scared as a kid because of the movie Jaws?
No, not really.
No.
No. Yeah, I was always around fish.
You're probably not even. Of course, you were not born yet when the first Jaws movie came out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just something I've always fascinated by, just fishing in general,
Yeah.
just being in the outdoors.
But when I was a kid, man, I watched that movie, and man, everybody was afraid of the ocean. Like,
yeah.
you would think that as soon as you would touch the water, the
Mhm.
shark is gonna be there, dude.
Right.
It just created that panic throughout everybody. So it took me a little bit, to realize that, hey, just because you're in the water, you're not gonna get
Right.
attacked by a shark.
Yeah, a lot of people have this image that sharks are just out there to attack
Mhm.
them, and it's actually the opposite. I've been out there before, just casting a line, and you'll see a black
I'll
tip
see,
or a
yeah.
bull shark. On a very clear, calm day, you'll
Yeah.
see them, and then they'll kind of see you, and they'll kind of just go around. They'll go out into deeper water, and then they'll come back in shallow, and typically they're targeting
Yeah.
fish and stuff like that. So
I was fishing in Pensacola, Florida,
okay,
one time, and I was just doing a little bit of surf fishing,
Mhm.
but I saw what I thought it was redfish.
mm-hmm,
So I started, I got my lure and started casting too.
mm-hmm.
Then I realized they were all sharks.
Oh
They're all
really?
black. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I started. I was almost on top of them,
Wow.
and trying to get them to buy my popper,
Mhm.
lures, top waters, like
Mhm.
everything. I threw everything at it, and they wouldn't bite.
Yeah.
And they would swim around me, and they were not doing anything to me. So I was like, all right. I started feeling more relaxed and more relaxed. I'm like, it's super hard, to be attacked by a shark.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Oh yeah, it
You
does
know?
happen. A lot of the times, obviously just don't wear flashy jewelry in the
Mhm.
water, because that represents, they see a flash.
Is that what it is, or?
Yeah, that's one of them, So, obviously bait fish, they have their scales and a lot of them are shiny.
Mhm.
So when they see something shining, they think it's a fish, and they'll
What
go out
happened
and-
2 years ago at the island where like 2 or 3 people got bit on the same
I was
day?
I was actually out there doing charters the day before and that morning. And I remember specifically that those 2 days. The day before,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually out on a charter the evening before that happened. That, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that happened about 11 a.m. But
Yeah,
I
it was
was
the middle of the day. Or
Yeah.
something.
So I was out there the day before, and I remember I was fishing with some clients, and we had just got there, and it was shark. I hadn't seen it like that. I've seen it close to that, where we
Mhm.
catch 14, 15 sharks in one fishing trip, or in a half day span, in about 4 or
Wow.
5 hours. But that was, I could almost say, shark infested waters. It's like I was dropping the bait behind the second sandbar, so I was about 150 yards off the beach.
Mhm.
And as soon as the bait would hit, I was dropping it with a drone. I would
But
drop.
you were
I was out on the beach.
out
Yeah,
on
yeah. So my truck has
past big the Axis 6 and all
yeah, I
that.
was
Yeah,
past the Axis 6 at my truck.
Mhm.
I have a setup. If you check it out on Instagram, you could see the truck with the platform. So the rods are set up on the beach. I'm dropping the bait out in the ocean, and as I would drop the bait with the drone, it has a release mechanism.
Sharks went
The
on it.
drone wasn't even back and landing on the beach, and the rod was already going off. So that day, I think we caught like 8 bull sharks with my set of clients within the span of like I want to say 2.5 hours.
Bull sharks.
Bull sharks, and they were done. They were like, okay, we're good. It was typically it's a 6 hour trip. It's about a
Yeah.
half day trip, and they were like, we're done. Like
They-
we cannot physically reel in another shark.
They
were
get
all-
tired, right?
Oh,
People
yeah.
get tired.
Yeah, I think it was only like 3 clients and a child or something like that they had, and they all caught sharks, and they were just tired. They couldn't physically
Yeah, they're like,
reel in
we
another shark.
are like,
So I stayed there, and some
Mhm.
friends showed up. I told them, hey, they were near the island. So I told them, hey, if y'all want to catch some fish, they're biting today. So we caught another like 4 or 5 more bull sharks, and they were all the same size. They were all around, I want to say 5.5 till about 7.5 foot.
that's
in
still
size.
a pretty big shark,
it's
man.
it's a big shark. They were all between 100 to 250 pounds.
Yeah.
So they were good sized sharks, and they were just all that same size, and they were just feeding that day. And I specifically remember that weekend. I believe that like Sunday or Monday was, if I'm not mistaken, I think like 4th of July weekend. I remember we were having a tropical storm that was going to hit us or hit Mexico.
Mm.
It was like a tropical depression that was coming in. It was like I guess you could say like a small hurricane. It was going to bring a
Yeah.
lot of rain and winds.
Yeah.
So when that happens, it changes the barometric pressure, and the fish and the animals sense that. So, obviously they're not going to be they can't go out in a storm and fish as good for bait and stuff like that. And obviously sharks or just like a lion, an animal
Mhm.
that size, it has to feed.
Yeah.
Every day
Of
a
course.
certain amount.
Yeah.
So what they do is they go into like this feeding frenzy and just start feeding so that they, could be prepared for, let's say the storm is 2 or 3 days, and it's a bad storm. They know it's gonna come, so they
Yeah.
just feed. So, and I remember specifically that day too, there was a lot of bait in the water along the edge of the beach, just jumping
Mhm.
everywhere.
The mud
So-
run had already started, I guess.
Yeah, we just had a lot of bait in the water, just with the barometric pressure changing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everything was just feeding and stuff like that. So when that happens, I mean, just you kind of put the picture together. You have
Yeah.
all these sharks feeding because they know this storm's gonna come. They're gonna feed. You have all the bait in the water jumping, and then you mix people jumping in the water, splashing around where they don't see it, but the
Yeah.
bait is in the water too.
Yeah.
So when you mix that together, and I remember the following morning, it was the same concept. We caught about 5 bull sharks that morning. And I remember that day as I was driving down the beach, Axis 6 and Axis 5 was covered like bumper to bumper in people, thousands of people.
Yeah. The word got out.
And I remember just thinking to myself, like, that's a lot of sharks in the water. That's an accident waiting to happen. And sure enough, that morning is when it happened. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
we same concept. That morning, we caught about 4 or 5 bull sharks, and the clients were satisfied. We left around 10:30, almost 11, and that's when I was getting a phone call from my buddy, which is he's a cop on the island actually,
Mm.
and he let me know about it. And I'm like, told him, I'm like, I'm not surprised. Like,
Yeah.
I like if I would, there's a lot of sharks in the water.
All the conditions were
Everything just lined
ideal
up
for the
perfectly
accident.
for an
right?
accident, and I'm surprised it was only one major. I heard of some other smaller ones that people got like.
Yeah, there
stuffed.
was it 2 or 3 people that got
I
bit?
heard like 2 or 3 people got like nicked. Or
One
something
was
by
serious.
by some smaller sharks. But that one was serious. It was a
Yeah.
a big bull shark. It was it was after her, and I
So
was
it was
just-
a bull shark.
yeah, it was a bull shark.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like,
Those are the aggressive ones.
Yeah,
I hear.
yeah, they're
I'm not an
very
expert.
very territorial.
Yeah.
But when you get people swimming in the water like that,
Yeah, just
um,
playing around,
playing around,
splashing.
splashing, or just going out for a swim, and they might not see it, but there's bait all around them.
Mhm.
And then you get a bull shark coming in, and it sees splashing and stuff. Just like almost in the movie, the movie Jaws
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
They're gonna go and investigate and take a bite,
Yeah.
thinking it's a
Does
fish.
it also has to do with the full moon? Like the moon affects the. I know it does.
Yeah,
Affects
the
the
moon,
fishing.
will affect the
I wonder if
fishing, the
it's
tides.
if it makes the sharks more aggressive also.
They do tend to feed at night. That goes for most fish.
Mm-hmm.
The tides come up a lot. It does differ with the tides as well. If you ever go out on a full moon, you'll notice sometimes when there's a high tide, it's typically a little bit higher than usual, and when there's a low tide, it's lower than usual.
Mm.
So the moon does do a lot of effect, for that.
Is that something you do to prepare when you're getting ready for a trip with a client? Like you
Right.
look at all the weather
Yeah,
conditions
obviously.
and
So what I do, obviously, it pertains to obviously being outside in the outdoors. So the weather plays a big factor in what I
Mm.
do. So depending on when clients want to go out and fish, they tell me, hey, I'm coming in. 90% of my clients are from out of town as well, so they'll let me know like, hey, I'm gonna be in town, this week or this weekend, and I'm able to obviously watch the weather, a couple weeks in advance and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I'll tell them like, hey, this day might look better, but it can change. So just letting you know. But
Yeah.
well, this day looks better. We'll go this day. So
Does it happen wherein you have a customer, either coming from, you know, a longer drive, I guess,
Mhm.
not local, and you see the weather conditions for that day,
Mhm.
and he's gonna pay money, and you're like, man, you know what?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
might not be the proper day to take you out fishing.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
don't we wait for
Yeah, I always recommend it.
yeah
Sometimes they already have their days for work plans.
plans,
So either
yeah,
way, I'll let them know like, hey,
hotel
yeah.
books
So
and
I'll let
stuff?
them know like, hey, we could fish it. Conditions aren't gonna be the best. They're not ideal, but if you want to still do it, we'll do it. Or if not, we can reschedule. So I communicate and let them
Yeah,
know, obviously. But yeah, I do. That does play. The weather does play a big factor when it
yeah.
comes to fishing. So obviously, we have to work around that.
I, when I got hooked, and I didn't do a lot of chart fishing because the very first guy that we hired,
Mm-hmm.
we went out and caught nothing,
Mm-hmm.
nothing, and we were trying, but nada.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's
And we
just
pay like
yeah.
this is back in. I'm telling you that I started doing this like in 2008, so this was like 2010
Okay.
or maybe 2009.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $500,
Yeah.
and nothing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes that happens, it's like, going back to what I said earlier, it's fishing and like I say sometimes too, like if I could guarantee it and
hmm
call it catching, I'd be a lot richer, you know? But yeah,
yeah.
it's fishing sometimes that's how it goes. And it could be like that with the sharks. Sometimes we could be in one spot catching 5 or 6 sharks like we were that day and you could go the next day, nothing. Their sharks are just
Has it happened to you with a client?
oh yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
happened.
where you
I do this
skunk.
full time, and it's sometimes it's part of it,
Yeah,
sometimes it's part of the fishing aspect,
yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, it happens on occasion and just
What is
something
your
you have to
favorite shark to catch
my
or
favorite
to fish?
yeah, my favorite shark is probably going to be a tiger shark or a hammerhead, but tiger shark I think is my favorite shark to catch.
Why?
Just because they're a lot more tedious and harder to catch.
Mm.
They're almost like if you ever alligator gar fished, where alligator gar they're very tedious when it comes to catching them
Yes,
sometimes
you gotta
because
let him.
you gotta let them eat. Sometimes they'll pick up the bait and they're just holding onto it and they're moving with it,
Yeah,
and then they get to where they want and then they eat the bait.
I have caught gar
Mm-hmm.
like twice,
Mm-hmm.
but by accident because
Right.
they do hit sometimes the lures.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I wasn't trying to catch one,
Mm-hmm.
and like a foot and a half or two
Yeah.
foot gar
Yeah. So it's the
just
same
took
concept. So- yes.
my top water actually
Yeah,
one
and they're
time.
alligator gar are hard to catch too.
Mhm.
I kind of
So I
compare
got
'em.
lucky, but I know the stories of
Yeah,
man. You gotta use crow and you gotta use
yeah.
this.
All the old timers using
Yeah,
all
like
types of
the
techniques and
chicken
baits and
that
stuff.
is rotten
Hmm.
and stinky, and you gotta throw it in the water and let it sit.
Yeah.
And then they have this special rigs
Hmm.
for the bait,
Yeah,
and once they take it, like no, don't
yeah. You gotta let them eat it
let
and
him eat
stuff.
it, let him eat it until it's in the back of the throat, and then
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when
It's
you
kind
want
of
to
the
hook.
same concept for the tiger sharks. They could be kind of hard to catch sometimes
Hmm
because
They'll play with the
they'll play with the bait, they'll mess with the bait, they'll move it, and then they'll drop it, and then you'll see the rod start moving again, and then you move it and then drop it. So. And then by the time you let them do that, and then you hook onto them, and next thing you know, there's a
Yeah.
12 and a half foot tiger shark on there, so.
Yeah, I always see the people with trucks and those rigs,
Mhm.
that those platforms that are
Right.
on the back of the truck. I'm assuming it's because you don't want the line to drag on the water,
On the
or does it
sandbars.
have any other purpose?
Yeah, so obviously for one, it keeps the rods secure. It keeps them stable because you can't just put them on a rod holder in the beach. If you're hooking into
yeah.
a 10, 12, 13-foot
It's gonna
shark,
take the whole thing.
you're not even going to see
Yeah.
the rod, you're just going to shoot right into the
Yeah.
water. So obviously for one, it keeps the rod secure. And then the second is it's higher up in elevations, and the lines are the lines are higher up. So when the line, by the time it hits the water, it's kind of hovering above the sandbars in a way.
Mhm.
So because obviously the sandbars, here on South Pottery, you could be 100 yards off the beach and be up to your waist on the second or third sandbar.
Yes.
So, you don't want your line to be rubbing on the sandbar because obviously there's shells and stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
So if you're fighting a shark and there's a lot of tension and it just nicks a shell,
Yeah.
with kind of a sharp edge, it'll pop your line. So the rack kind of helps with elevating the lines higher and avoiding the sandbars a little bit
Yeah.
better.
I was fishing with a friend of mine at the Yetis one time, and we were just killing the Jack Crevalle.
Okay, yeah.
And my buddy, he's like, dude, I have a friend that loves shark fishing. Let me give him a call.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guy was doing something, but
Mhm.
he was like, dude, I'm on my way from Brownsville. Like, I want to take all this because he's gonna use them for. Do you do the same thing? Like,
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah.
bait important? Because it can
Bait.
get pricey if you're buying it all the
Oh
time,
yeah,
right?
bait is very important, especially when it comes to shark fishing. You want to have the right bait for the right time of year. So every, whether you're fishing in the winter or the spring or the summer and the fall,
Mm.
we have different bait migrations that come in throughout the year, throughout the seasons. So you want to use, I guess, what I call match the hatch. So use what's in the ocean or in the water.
Oh, I
If
see.
you
I see,
try
I
to
see.
use a Jack Crevalle, a big old Jack Crevalle in the middle of the winter, there's no Jack Crevalles here right now. They're more of a warmer water fish
Yeah.
for the most part. And, so you want to be, right now we have a lot of whiting in the surf, a lot of sheephead, drum. So those are kind of baits that are legal to use.
I see.
And what's in the,
See, I thought they would use him because you know how they say that the Jack Crevalle has that blood.
Yeah, very bloody.
like
yeah,
very
so,
bloody.
Yeah, so in the so around right now, that's what I typically use. Whiting, drum, or sheephead for bait. And once transitioning into the spring, going into March, April, May, then the Jack Crevalles start coming back,
Mm.
and they'll stick around into the fall. But primarily, we have a bait migration of Jack Crevalles that come in, and they kind of just
During what
migrating.
time?
Spring. So around,
spring.
you're gonna start seeing them primarily around April is when you're gonna start seeing them. April, May, you'll see them come in schools, kind of like the mullet run,
Mhm.
and you'll see hundreds of thousands of Jack Crevalles.
Some fishermen hate the jacks.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, it's a fun fish to catch.
It's a
man.
fun fish
It
to
is
fight, but
amazing.
it'll beat your tackle up. And your
Oh,
rod.
it
Yeah.
will. It will.
Yeah, they fight almost like a tuna, but
Also, I didn't know, but on the first one that I caught, and you look, I have a little draw over there of
Oh,
a
there you
jack
go.
because it's a good memory,
Right.
like I grabbed that thing to pull it out of the Yeti,
Mm-hmm.
and like it has
A very
some
sharp tail.
bro.
Mhm.
I
It's
didn't
got
know
a-
this.
The tail is very rigid.
I grabbed it to pull it out of and it just cut my whole hand up.
Yeah, I've had
It
the
messed me
same
up.
thing happen to me. I saw a school of them out on the surf, and I went out on my jet ski to go catch some for
Mhm.
bait, obviously. And I hooked into a giant one, and I went up to grab it by the tail, and it's same thing. It kind of, took off, and it,
Yeah.
sliced my hand right open.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And especially because they have a lot of power on that tail.
Correct. Yeah.
So when I grabbed it, and I tried, and this jag was almost dead. It took
Mhm.
me a long time to revive him.
Mm-hmm.
But it still had the power to just jank
Yeah, they're
that
very,
tail, and
very
it just
strong
cut
fish.
me up, man.
Mhm.
So yeah, uh, people that not familiar with the jacks, like be careful with that tail when you put
Right.
them in.
Yeah, and the kind of reason too behind that tail, and it's very hard. It's a
Very hard. It's like a shell, man.
Yeah,
like a
it's almost like a
the head of
hammer.
the spear.
Yeah, it's very, very hard. And sometimes, I guess you could say like God creates fish for a reason and different
Mhm.
things like that. But that's one of his, like when a shark comes to try to grab it, it's a very hard tail, so they could kind of get away
Yeah.
and, stuff like that. Obviously, same thing with the redfish. They say like, it's supposed to mimic an eye so that, the sharks or predators
Mhm.
will go and get it and it's able to get away versus if it were to grab it in the head,
Yeah.
it has really no control to go anywhere. And
Have you? Because I was thinking right now of that year. I caught that big jack, and then I was catching a whole bunch of, and I get them confused. The bonitas or the bonitos, the little small. They have like 3 different names, like the little tunas, man. Like, what are they?
Jack crevet?
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no,
the
no.
skipjacks or ladyfish?
No, 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 no,
or
no,
which
no.
ones?
What's
Is it
the name?
Bonita?
See,
Bonita.
see,
Yeah.
bonita.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the name?
I
But
want to
there's different kinds. But they all look the same.
right.
They look, it's like a small tuna. Looks like
Yeah.
a little torpedo, man.
Yes, Bonita.
Okay, so we were catching those at the Yeti, man, and super close to the shore.
Mhm.
Like we were not even all the way to the end of the Yeti there at Isla Blanca.
Oh,
and
wow.
we were just one after the. This was like 2014 maybe,
Okay.
and a bunch of jacks,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of tarpon, kingfish.
Oh wow.
I didn't get a kingfish. I'll tell you a little bit story right now because I'm still chasing one. And I have never seen another day like that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was, everybody was catching, fishing, like
Right.
killing it with the jacks, with the bonitas and tarpon. So it was around October time, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, September, October.
Sometime in the fall.
Yeah, sometime in the fall. And since that year, I try to go to the Yeti and visit Yeti,
Mm-hmm.
during that month, but I have never seen another day like that.
Yeah.
Do you experience any decline on the fish?
Yeah, a little bit. I've seen a lot of changes. A lot of it is like obviously climate change. And for the main part, the water temperatures and the conditions are going to play a big factor in that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a good year because the years past, obviously the water, we've
Yeah.
had at least it seems like we've had a lot more cold fronts, in the previous years, and this year kind of seemed pretty warm.
Yeah.
Recently we've had a few cold fronts here and there. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, even right now, the water temperatures are typically a little bit warmer than what they should be for this time of year.
Yeah.
So that typically is a good thing. So, typically the season, spring and all that, as far as for fishing, and when like I mentioned, when the jacks come in the spring and stuff, I think it might start early, since the water temperatures aren't,
Yeah.
as cold. So
I'm-
typically that makes for good fishing.
I'm trying to get a jack with a fly rod.
Yeah.
I haven't done it.
Oh yeah.
But I want to experience
that'll
that.
be a challenge.
On
Yeah.
the surf also.
Mhm.
Or the Yeti, like at this point, I don't mind it
Yeah.
as long as I can get one. But what I was going to tell you about the kingfish, man. One time, everybody's catching kingfish, but I had just a small 7-foot light rod,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, man, I'm gonna do this. I want to catch one. I
Mhm.
have never caught one. Catch one. So I put live mullet and just throw it.
Mm-hmm.
Free line with the live mullet, and just kept my rod there at the Yeti
Mm-hmm.
and just wait for. I was like, I'll wait. I had like a 2500 Shimano.
Okay.
Well, a kingfish hit my line, but before I even grabbed that rod,
Mm-hmm.
it had spooled the whole thing.
Yeah.
Gone, man.
Mm-hmm.
I go the next day. I get me a better setup,
Mhm.
better rod, a 8-foot rod, a little bit like more like a medium heavy,
Yeah, a little bit more
thicker,
beefier.
a little bit more backbone on that rod. A nice 6,000 reel,
Mm-hmm.
Shimano reel, fishing line, everything.
Mm-hmm.
and never. And I try, man. I have still never caught a kingfish.
Yeah. If typically if you want to be targeting them and stuff like that, obviously, when the water temperatures are right, obviously like that day, warm water temperatures, calm. They like the calmer,
Mm,
glassier water. A little bit calmer blue when that blue water
yeah.
comes in also. But yeah, typically whenever I target them, if you want to target them on lures and stuff, typically a 2-ounce spoon is gonna work best. You could chunk it out far,
Yeah.
and it kind of mimics, a silver spoon will mimic a mullet.
Yeah.
So when they see that and they see that spoon spinning and traveling fast,
Yeah.
they typically will hit it.
But you see, that's why, because I have tried everything,
Mm-hmm.
and the people around me will be catching them, and I'm there in between them, and nothing.
Yeah,
And I'm throwing this, and I mean, I consider myself a good fisherman, but it's still,
yeah.
man,
I mean, sometimes it just happens.
yeah. And I'm throwing all the same thing they're doing, but
Mhm.
it's just not happening,
It
man.
just happens like that sometimes.
Yeah, and there's this one friend of mine. Le mando saludos al Chapa. I go with him, and we kill it every single fishing trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. That there's something that has to do with luck, man.
Yeah. He's just
You
that one
know?
lucky friend.
Yeah, he's that lucky friend that if I go with him, we kill it
Mm-hmm.
with reds, with anything, whatever we target, we're gonna get,
Mm-hmm.
and we do, man. So some people just have that luck, you know. You do a lot of bait fishing, also.
Yeah, I do. I try to do a lot of bait fishing. Growing up with my dad is something we did as well. Going to Boca Chica, to South Bay, or just everywhere.
Yeah.
Along the Laguna, Port Mansfield. So yeah, I do a lot of bait fishing as well, targeting trout and reds and stuff.
What's your favorite fish on the bay side?
On the bay side, probably flounder and snook because they're a
Really?
little bit more challenging to catch.
Flounder.
Flounder.
Yeah, the snook it's a challenge.
Yeah, flounder and snook are a lot more challenging to catch.
Flounder. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. So what's the trick with the snook? I have caught some, but it's also by accident. You know?
Yeah. I mean, just depending on what you're using for bait, it kind of goes back to that. I've always had good luck catching snook on the jetties or anywhere near structure. They like to hang around those areas. Or deeper channels, stuff like that. That's typically where they like to hang. You'll find them rarely on the flats, but if you do, they'll be around like tree lines, mangroves. So they like to hang around structure and stuff like that.
One time I was fishing the Yeti because I don't have a boat, but I try to go to all these places to wait fish, and then the Yeti is one of my favorite ones because you can catch a lot of different species, right?
Right.
And if you want to target, like the reds, you can stay closer to shore, but fish from the Yeti, so it makes it easier, convenient for the people that don't have boats. But so one time I was fishing the Yeti, and this guy with his scuba gear, with his snorkel and everything, he's gonna do some spear fishing around the Yeti, I guess. So he was going down, and then he's telling me, dude, there's snook like this big at the bottom of the Yeti. Just throw your lure there. Man, I try, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, they're
man.
very tedious to catch.
Yeah.
You could throw a live shrimp sometimes in front of their face. They will not eat. They have their little feeding patterns when they eat, and things like that. So yeah, snook are very tedious to catch. Same thing with flounder. And flounder typically are a predator fish. Obviously, the way they're built. If you've ever seen a flounder, they're built like a predator. They have pretty much, they're white on the bottom and then they're brown colored on the top, and they got both eyes on one side of their head. And they kind of just like to lay low underneath the sand. So that's typically why they're a predator fish, and obviously why they like to hang around structure or any kind of channel drop off. They like to hang around that area. So like when the little fish is swimming by, then they attack it. So
what's the name of that? Is it the Dolphin Cove? If you go on Boca Chica all the way to the Yeti, and then you go around, and you know how it makes that little beach,
right
behind. Is that Dolphin Cove? You said
Dolphin Cove.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was there fishing, just targeting like redfish or the trout, the typical stuff, and I was just using a little subwalk mirror lure, and right at the end, when I was about to just pick it up to throw it again, one of the biggest flounders that I have ever caught just hit my lure, man. Just came out of nowhere. It was next to me the whole time. I guess he had seen me.
Yeah,
Bring my lure back towards me. So he was waiting for the right moment, and in one of those, like it just came out of nowhere. And
You
I
just
saw
got it.
it was like crystal clear water that day.
Hmm.
So I saw the whole thing, how they moved their bodies, and they just boom, it just
Kind
hit
of
that
an
lure.
image that stayed with you.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Hmm.
So I can see, the challenge with flounders.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
have always just caught by accident.
Right.
I know
Right.
people use those jigs
Hmm.
because you're allowed to do that at night with lights and stuff. Or
Yeah. So you could use
what's
like a
the rule
little
for that?
double drop rig, with your two little lures. I typically, if I'm gonna target flounder like that, I use like a gulp, like a minnow
Hmm.
type of. It's got like a little curly tail.
No. But I mean, like people
Oh, you
spear
mean
them.
gigging?
Yeah,
Yeah.
gigging. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
So
word.
gigging is a very big thing as well for flounder. There's a
Yeah.
time of year.
But are
Uh,
you allowed? I mean, to do that?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. You could gig the flounder. I've do it occasionally. I don't do it a whole lot. I've done it a handful of times,
Hmm.
and it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But you just gotta
I
kind of know
seen.
where.
I only seen it on videos. I never seen somebody do it here. I mean,
Yeah,
but
you just kind of gotta know where to find.
you
them.
gotta rig your boat with lights and all
Yeah.
that stuff and
Yeah,
go out
you
at
could
night.
you could
right?
walk and wade too in the bay and look for them. You just got to know where they're at. They
True.
venture around a lot, so you just have to know where they're
Yeah.
going to be.
The what is it? Puente Los Lobos and Game and Bridge also
Hmm.
are popular when it's time for the snook season. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. So
That's around April, right? Is it or
yeah, April all the way through summer, fall. Their snooker typically they're in the channel for the most part, and they venture off, from into the bay and stuff that's
Mhm.
there. But yeah, around this time of year, there's a lot of drum and redfish in there. When the water gets colder, they typically they're in the channel, obviously the ship
Mhm.
channel, and when the water gets colder, they find deeper water to find some a little bit warmer water,
Mhm.
and they like to hang in there. So that's why right now people are
Yeah.
catching a lot of them, there.
And just like you're saying, that they love to hang out right behind the structure,
Mhm.
especially to protect themselves against the current, I guess.
Right.
Right. So
Mhm.
when there's that incoming tide and goes into Los Lobos or Game and Bridge,
Right.
they sit right there in the middle
Hmm.
on those pillars.
Yeah.
So people already know, man.
Mhm.
And sometimes they go and man, they take a bunch of fish.
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah, the
uh,
fish know they kind of like they're predators, so they hang around structure and little things like that. So if a little fish is coming around the corner, then they're able to attack it. Which is people put their live bait, their shrimp, their lure, their mullet. So
that line with a live bait with a
Mhm.
little bit of weight. That way you can hit the bottom and
Right.
let the mullet just
Mhm.
be in their faces
Yeah.
until they bite. Yeah, that's what they do, man. You do also a little bit of hunting and
Yeah,
What do you do?
big hunter as well. Typically, obviously in the wintertime, I do that a lot. Obviously,
Mhm.
when the season slows down for me, I guess you could say, for fishing, obviously we have cold fronts and stuff to come in, so you have to work around the weather, like we mentioned earlier, to fish. So, typically in the December, January, February, I kind of take it off a little bit and just kind of tend to, just hunting and things like that.
let me go back to the fishing.
Hmm.
There were some pictures with some big stingrays.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't know they get that big. At
Yeah.
least for the species that we have here
Right.
in the island, I didn't know they grow that.
Yeah, we
big.
get some very big stingrays. People really don't know that as well,
Mhm.
but they're there, and it's crazy too because people don't know they're there because you have to kind of put the right bait for them, kind of just like the sharks.
Mhm.
If you put the right bait, what's in the area around that time of year, if you put the right bait, at the right depth, people don't know that there's 14
There was
foot
two
hammerheads.
pictures in particular that you have on your Instagram.
Right.
They're
So
like
it's kind of this
huge.
Yeah, it's kind of the same concept. So we get this migration where they come in. Typically,
But
you're
were
gonna
you
get them-
targeting big stingray or
No, just sharks.
You
But
sharks,
they eat
but
the
they
they
eat
eat
it,
the
yeah.
bait. Yeah. So typically June, July is when those big stingrays come in. That's when you're gonna see them. And they'll stick around until August as well. But June and July is where you're gonna catch those big stingrays. And if you just put a chunk of whiting or a whole whiting,
Mhm.
it's almost I can almost guarantee that they're kind of a nuisance to me because when you hook one that big, it's a big stingray
Yeah.
and they'll suck themselves down to the ocean floor
Yeah.
and it takes forever to bring it. It could take 45
Yeah.
minutes to an hour to bring something that size
That-
in.
That's what I was gonna tell you. That I mean, as a kid, I remember like
Mhm.
my dad knew like, hey, if it's stuck, it feels like it got caught somewhere. It's
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
stingray. He's
stingray.
like, nah, cut it.
Hmm.
Try again.
Yeah,
You
we
know, but
get
there's people that know how to get them unstuck.
right. Yeah, so when they come in around that time of year, typically they're big females, and the same concept. They're typically pregnant, just like the big hammerheads when they come in
Mm.
in late spring, early summer. We get the migration of those big 14-foot hammerheads. They come in, same concept. They're pregnant, so they're coming in and they're looking to go to the channels and stuff
Yeah.
to lay their pups. So they have a chance to survive versus just letting them out in the ocean. Predators and stuff will eat them. Sharks will eat.
Yeah.
A bigger shark will eat them. So same thing, same concept with the big stingrays. We get them in June and July, and a lot of the time when we're catching them and bringing them in, they're releasing the babies, the stingrays.
Yeah.
So as we're bringing them in and we're taking the hook out, there's
Mm.
10 to 15 stingrays that she's releasing.
It happens. It happens.
And especially a stingray that size, sometimes we get them. They're like a 4 to 5 foot wingspan. 100 to 150 pound stingray.
Yeah.
It's a big stingray. So she's releasing her babies, and even the babies are about the size of a dinner plate.
Yeah.
They're still big.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of that time around that time of year, we get those big stingrays, and they're pregnant. And the same thing with the bull sharks. We get a bull shark migration in the fall, also around October, November. At least on Sao Padre, at least things that I've learned throughout the years of doing this.
Yeah.
We get a big run of these giant bull sharks as well, and same thing. They're pregnant. You could catch a 8-9 foot bull shark,
Mhm.
real big bull shark, and she, as you're bringing her in, you could tell she's pregnant. She's like, the size of a barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're big and
Huge
they're heavy.
stomachs. I seen them sometimes when
Yeah.
they get caught, and then they're dead, but people hang them.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
see how
Mhm.
you can tell, like
Yeah.
they're just their belly just
Mhm.
like huge.
Right.
Those probably are the
Yeah,
ones that
and
are
just
pregnant.
learning off things like that of doing this
Mhm.
throughout the years. You see them. Okay, you catch them in the surf, and then you go fish certain areas. You have buddies fishing certain areas like the channel or near the Rio Grande River. So what those sharks do, and even the stingrays, they go into those channels. Kind of like into the ship channel for the chip channel near the bay,
Yeah.
or even into the Rio Grande River. They'll release the babies back there, and then they go back out into the ocean.
Mm.
And my theory is they're doing that obviously, so they could have a chance at surviving.
Yeah.
Because a big shark or another female, shark, if they see a baby shark, it's a
They're
when
gonna
it comes
eat
to
it.
sharks, it's a territorial thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they won't even eat it; they'll just
Oh, they
attack it
just
and
kill
leave
it.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Same thing, you'll see fish wash up. You'll see a drum or a redfish, or even a stingray wash up, and it just has a bite mark, and sometimes it's more of just a territorial thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they do that. They come in and they release their babies in the channels and stuff like that, so they have a chance at surviving.
Got it. I went through a couple phases, right, as I'm learning how to fish and get,
Mhm.
at the beginning, it was just like buy everything that
Mhm.
that catches my eye.
Right,
Oh,
right.
this looks cool, and buy it.
Mhm.
At some point, I'm like, man, you have all this stuff. You're spending a bunch of money,
Mhm.
and it's not helping you.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, you know what? In order to kind of like just instead of wasting my money, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna use at that time it was just I'm just gonna use anything that is made by DOA.
Yeah, DOA.
That way I can just cut all the crap. Like
Mhm.
stop buying all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stick to one brand. Not because they're DOA. It's just at the time,
Mhm.
the shrimp, the DOA shrimp,
Yeah,
it was very popular.
yeah, that was a very popular thing.
Yes, and then they started making other type of soft plastics.
Yeah, gulp and
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna stick to this brand and just buy this.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can reduce my fishing bag or my
Mhm.
tackle box from because it was also sorry for that.
No problem.
It was also getting heavy,
Mhm.
just taking all the gear all the time. Like, dude, why are you carrying all this? You're not even using
Just
that.
kind of limits.
At the end, you only use like two different colors or 3 different colors at the most.
Mhm.
So you're carrying all this. So, I had to reduce my also the size of my tackle box to just whatever would fit in just one small little box.
Right.
So okay, a little bit of one shrimp from the away, in the other type of soft
Yeah,
plastics, and then
they
that's it,
several different
you know.
styles of what you're after.
Yeah,
Shrimp or mullet mimics. Or,
yeah. So that helped, you know, because I'm not wasting my money and buying all kinds of different tackle.
Mhm.
What is it that you use to target, like, let's say, species on the bay? What works for redfish? What works for trout in your experience?
Yeah. So I mean, I typically use a little bit of different things. I use different lures. Sometimes there's some local lures. I use AM lures, JZR lures, and then I use also gulp stuff like that. DOA. I use a lot of different lures. It just depends on the water conditions and the water clarity is what you want to be throwing. But if it like it depends where you're at
Mm-hmm.
as well. If you're around structure and stuff like that, you want to be using, certain things. Like I like to throw a shrimp, start off with a shrimp, and then maybe throw like a type of minnow, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
depending on the water clarity, I'm gonna use a darker color or a lighter color. And then a lot of the things I like to do too early in the mornings when it's a little bit calmer, I'll throw a top water.
Yeah.
That's always fun. That's like one of my go-to. I like to see
Yeah.
them go and attack it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fun sight.
But see, because I'm trying to get your secrets, man. If you have to choose one lure to get trout, what would it be?
If I'm gonna target trout and you want to do it simple, a popping cork and a shrimp.
Something that is gonna work
Yeah,
most of the
that's
time.
pretty much the easiest way to find trout. You want a popping cork with either a gulp or a live shrimp, but a popping cork and a shrimp is gonna be like the easiest way to target trout.
Okay.
Whether you're in deeper or even shallow. If you're on the flats.
Yeah.
Or if you're in deeper areas, or that typically that's going to be the easiest way.
And you can adjust the line to the
depending on
depth.
how deep.
Yeah.
If you're fishing the flats, you're fishing 2-3 feet of water. You adjust the line.
Yeah, under the popper.
Yeah, so typically, if I'm going to take clients out, they're not. I guess you could say like very experienced at fishing. I'll throw in a popping cork rig with a gulp or a live shrimp, just depending on where we're fishing, and that's kind of a easy way to catch trout for the most part.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
For redfish,
redfish, obviously same thing depending on where you're at. If you're going to be like on the flats, I like to throw just what I've used in the past, like an AM lure, depending, I like red or a red one, or depending like a darker one, like a greenish one on the flats.
There was another cycle of my fishing that I started using Kelly Wigglers.
Kelly Wigglers, yeah, the red
because
one. Because
Ernest Cisneros would only use those, and I was like, you know what? This guy knows what he's doing.
Back then, yeah,
I'm gonna use just Kelly Wigglers for and I did that for like 4 years, or maybe more. Yeah, I still have a bunch of Kelly Wigglers.
I have some too. I still use them. And yeah, they work really good for redfish. That red one with the little white tail works really good.
Yes, red with white, the chartreuse color. There's one purple one.
Yeah.
And the one that looks like the Dr. Pepper color.
Yeah.
Those work great.
Yeah, so all of those are just going to factor whether it's darker water, you're going to want to use the darker ones, stuff like that. If it's clearer water, you want to use something that you could use with some type of reflection, if it has like glitter, stuff like that, lighter colors and stuff like that. So you kind of want to match the water clarity of what you're going to throw. But yeah, typically for reds, just throwing lures like that on the flats, and depending on the tail too is the type of action you're going to use. If it's a paddle tail, it's just something you're retrieving. If not, you're doing like your pops and stuff like that.
Yeah. To me, sometimes when I enjoy doing something, and I think about maybe making it a business, I'm like, I don't want to do it, because then what if I end up hating the thing that I love doing?
Yeah, right.
Is that something that you thought about, or maybe it happened at some point?
I guess you could say sometimes it does feel like a job, but I mean, it really does.
Is it your main job, or
that's all I do.
That's all you do full time. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes as you're getting your truck ready, loading it up, I guess that's kind of the process of like going back to work. But once you're out there,
you're like,
yeah. But once you're out there and you're fishing and you're that goes away. Especially having an office view of seeing the sunrise or the sunset. On the water.
Yeah. I love being outdoors.
Yeah, it's kind of like something you forget about. Especially even like I mentioned, sometimes we shark fish and we go way out. Past all the crowds. Sometimes you don't even have cell phone service. So just little things like that, and it's a good experience for the
Yeah.
clients too, because they just kind of, once you're out there and you're fishing, and you're the anticipation of catching a shark and catching the
Yeah.
shark, you forget about everything back at home. You just
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
it's kind of just like you ease your mind.
Yeah.
So little things like that is what makes it to where like
That's
it's still enjoyable for me.
That's the other side of fishing that a lot of people don't know, but I used it as therapy, man.
Yeah.
Like at some point in my career, I was like, man, I just need to be out there.
Yeah, you're just getting out there, and like I mentioned, it's just when you're out there and you're in the midst.
It was
of
like
it
a
and
reset for
doing-
me.
Yeah, you just kind of forget about everything back at home, and you just kind of
Yes.
ease your mind, and
Yeah.
yeah, and like people, I have a lot of clients ask me like, "You're young, you're doing this, like does it feel like work?" They ask me the same
Yeah.
question. I always tell them like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, So it's kind of
True,
my
true,
concept,
So you don't have that problem where like, oh,
Yeah.
this is now a drag every time that
I
I
mean,
have to go out.
sometimes every depending on how busy I am, 2 or 3 times a week, and on the weekends is typically what my schedule's like, or even busier, especially in summer. I go out there, especially on the beach when I'm doing the beach fishing trips. Clients go out there, we're on the beach, they take out their parrilla, their barbecue pit, their carne
Mhm.
asada, and then, I'm on the jet ski. So, I mean, every other day there's a
Mhm.
barbecue, I'm riding a jet ski in the
Yeah.
ocean, we're catching sharks.
Yeah.
How is that?
No,
hard
you're
to-
right. I mean, the
It's kind of
problem,
hard not to,
yeah,
you know.
and the problem with me is the getting all the stuff ready
Mhm.
and
Loading up.
and loading up and buying all the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I forgot to get this. I
Yeah,
forgot to get
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Like
so to me, I kind of have like a list, a routine down before every fishing trip. And
checklist.
obviously, sometimes you forget some little things,
Yeah.
a chair, or, something,
yeah,
but-
because you're right. Because once you're out there, everything you forget about
Yeah.
all those
Mhm.
all those issues, and you
Yeah,
just
you
enjoy.
just fish and enjoy, and
Yeah.
you forget about it, whether you're thinking about it or not,
The other
So-
part that I hate doing is like then coming back and
Yeah.
and cleaning all the gear,
Yeah,
cleaning your truck,
yeah, yeah.
cleaning the gear.
Yeah, I
And
remember.
because you're tired, man.
Yeah.
You're tired. All you want to do is just park your truck, take a shower, get
Mhm.
something to eat, and go to sleep.
Go
But
to
then
sleep.
you have to do all the work.
Right.
So man.
Yeah, I remember it was a process for me too, coming all the way back to Brownsville where I lived and doing all that. But now I live on the island now, so it's kind of just like, from the beach straight to the island. And, doesn't take me 45 minutes to an hour depending on traffic to get all the way back, so I just get back onto the island, wash my gear, put it away, and, I'm fine. So that made it a big help.
Okay. Was it you that shared a story with this guy Jackson, Captain Jackson? He's a young guy.
Nick.
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 Man, probably 10 years ago, I
Mhm.
saw his videos. He was a little kid
With
catching
tarpon.
tarpon,
Yeah,
catching
yeah.
all kinds of fish, man.
Yeah, him and his brother.
He got
really-
popular
really-
at some point. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's still doing it.
Yeah, he still does a lot of fishing. He's actually going to school. I'm not exactly sure where. I know I don't know if it's San Marcos or somewhere up in that area. We still talk occasionally, we
Really?
hang out. Yeah, I got to know him through friends of friends and stuff.
Oh,
So yeah, we still talk every now and then and stuff like that. And he's
his
going to
brother
school.
was the one making the videos, right? And he was the one,
Yeah, Austin
Austin,
Jackson, the older brother.
the older brother.
Mhm.
But he was a little kid, man, and he
Yeah.
he knew
Mm-hmm.
the fishing stuff in and out.
Yeah.
It always impressed me, like his stuff, his knowledge.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you take your little brother out there like that, and it
Mhm.
just kind of goes from there. 'Cause then,
That tarpon video is the one that got him popular, I think,
Oh, yeah.
because it just went viral. Man.
yeah. We still fish. We do fishing and hunting
Mhm.
together.
Well-
amongst friends and stuff. So
Yeah, this was like 10 years ago.
right, yeah,
Probably, right?
Yeah, maybe
9
more.
or maybe 8 or maybe more.
Yeah, it might have been like 10 to 12 years ago now.
Okay, so he's grown up now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to college up north right now, and he comes down when he can. Obviously when the school
Is
schedule.
he still a good fisherman?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh man, yeah, man. Those years, fishing videos
Mm-hmm.
it just exploded.
Yeah.
with fishing videos.
Yeah, and it seems like everything nowadays
YouTubers and all
social
that.
media is very big for fishing and stuff like
Mhm.
that. A lot of people are, I guess popular from social media, whether it's YouTube or TikTok,
But-
Instagram.
I think about it now since I'm doing this, right? But I think about it like it was 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, it wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
but people were not doing it.
Yeah.
People were, I mean, the
I've,
gear
I've,
was there,
yeah, I've
the
also
cameras was
seen
there.
that fishing is a very, very big thing now.
Yeah.
It's a very
I
big
think it's
thing.
because of all this social media stuff,
Mhm.
YouTube, like it just put a lot of people in the water, which is good to see, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I remember when I started, I guess, guiding for sharks, there wasn't really nobody that did it. I mean, I'm still the only one that's legitimately licensed to do it on the island.
Mm.
I have friends that do it in like Corpus and Galveston and so forth, even all the way to
Remember
Pensacola.
the fishing locals?
Yeah. I know. I
They
know
were
most
doing
of
a lot
them.
of shark fishing
Yeah.
back in those years also.
Yeah. I know most of the guys as well, and now they kind of
Yeah.
just as you get
The
older, life and stuff like that.
Boca Chica Beach Legends
Yeah,
also.
Yeah, I don't think they do it as much anymore. Same thing, as you get older, life
Yeah.
goes on and stuff.
Life is
but-
gone. You get families. You go your way.
Yeah.
Everybody goes their way.
Yeah, and then growing up, like when I first started, I had a lot of friends that do it too. But yeah, going back as far as like the guiding, when I first started, it was just me and like maybe 2 or 3 other people that would do it between the Texas coastline.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's a popular thing,
For
now,
the shark
for the shark
for the
fishing.
shark
Now
fishing,
it's
yeah.
like, there's more competition in it, as far as for business. A lot of
Yeah.
people are guiding for sharks now. And so I saw how within time, it became a very,
Yeah.
and I guess people too were kind of, there was only 2 or 3 other people, older gentlemen that would do it for shark fishing as well, off the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of came along and started it, and was doing. I had already kind of been a little bit known for shark fishing because of what I would catch. Especially being young.
Yeah.
Catching sharks like that and consistently. It's a very hard thing to do.
It
so
is.
I kind of got well known, and then that's when I started. I used to work at the school district of Harlingen for about 3.5, 4 years. And then I left it to do this. And when I started, other people were like, man, well, if this young kid could do it, I could do it. So then that's when other people got the confidence, like, hey, like,
Mhm.
I'm going to
Yeah.
start fishing as a guide, because it's also the same thing. They did
does
it for
it does it
fun.
happen that when the clients meet you, you're like, oh, what is this
Sometimes-
guy is
yeah,
gonna?
sometimes
This guy's
not
gonna
really
tell me how to.
until they see
Yeah.
me like, hop on a jet
Because
ski.
you're young, man,
Oh, yeah. So like when they see me hop on a jet ski
and you
go
look
out
younger
there-
than what you
Yeah.
than your age.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that.
Mhm.
But yeah, as soon as they see me go to work and rig up the rods,
Yeah.
and rig up the baits, and put the baits in the water, they're like, okay,
Okay, he knows.
And then
what
once the shark
yeah.
hits, and they're like, man, it's an experience. It's
yeah, it
definitely,
is, man.
It's definitely an experience. I recommend people try
Yeah.
at least once.
Yeah,
And a
Yeah.
lot of people also they want to get into shark fishing, but they kind of are hesitant to make the investment because it's a very, very expensive hobby.
it is.
Just online, I have to replace my braided line on my reels, at least for sure once or twice a month, maybe even more during the
A month,
a month, and each reel to spool up is about $200 to $300.
dude.
So it's an investment. So
Just to spool a 2500 size Shimano,
Mhm.
you have to buy the
Yeah.
150 yard.
Whether you're using
spool.
braid or mono, whatever you're using.
Last time I bought one, I don't replace them as often.
Mhm.
Actually, some of our reels had the same line for
Yeah.
years,
Mhm.
and nothing happens because I only target.
You're targeting redfish,
trout, and stuff like that. But the last one that I bought was like almost $40.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, I wanted the blue color, whatever.
Yeah.
But still, it was like $40.
Spool up.
So
a reel
imagine
could be
to spool a
couple
$1,000.
$100, to spool up a reel. But
You have to buy the bigger spools, right?
and I have to keep buying it. But obviously, for the reason being is that when you're catching a shark, you're targeting a shark anywhere from 6 foot, a bigger shark, mature shark, 6 foot to 14 feet.
Mhm.
So if you catch one of those sharks, it's putting a lot of stress on your line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's when you see it weaken and it tends to break
Yeah.
easier. So that's when you have to be replacing it,
Yeah, and you don't want to risk it to
Yeah.
catch the fish,
A
of,
fish
a lifetime
for a
and,
client
and
the
lose
line
it because
pops.
of gear.
Yeah, and sometimes it does happen more to natural things. Sometimes like I mentioned earlier, we have our line 100 all the way to 500-600 yards out in the ocean.
Yeah.
So when you have it that far out, obviously there's other fish, other sharks. So sometimes they run into the line and it frays the braid, and it weakens it. So then it'll pop the line. So that's something
Yeah.
you can't really go around. But I try to stay on the gear and keep
Yeah.
everything.
What is some of the proper etiquette, I guess, on fishing, on doing shark fishing that that you do, like the type of hooks that you use? Like
Yeah.
you
So,
always try to get the hook off of the shark if
oh
possible.
yeah, we
Like
removed the.
what are those rules?
Yeah. So
If you can share
typically,
some
yeah,
for
yeah.
people that want to do it,
So,
you know, like
shark fishing has gotten a lot more strict. From back then till now, at least from what I've seen, because obviously, like I mentioned, there's a lot more people that are
yeah,
trying it and into it, and sometimes people do something wrong, and it goes
yeah,
to social media, and it kind of gives shark fishing, a bad rep name, whatever
yeah.
you want to call it.
No,
So it's gotten a lot stricter. So going into that, you have to use certain hooks. You have, like, let's say, you can't use a non-offset hook. You can't use J hooks. It has to be a circle hook only
okay.
for targeting sharks. Can be offset. So
But
the
is
hook,
this state law or this is
state
just
law. Florida as
amongst
well.
fishermen, like
No,
some
state,
unwritten
like,
rules?
yeah, state
Oh,
state
state
law,
law.
but state
Okay.
regulations that you could get fined for.
Okay.
So
Tell me what is the state law for stuff like that?
yeah, so
The
you
hook?
the hook has to be
Okay. What else?
can't be a J hook, it has to be a circle hook. And it has to be non-offset, non-stainless as well. You can't use a stainless steel hook, obviously. So let's say if you have to, cut your line or whatever, and the hook has to stay in its mouth, or if it swallows it, it'll rust out eventually. So it has to be
Oh, okay, okay.
non-stainless, non-offset as well. So basically, the hook has to be straight. You know how some of them have like a curve
Mm-hmm.
on some of the hooks.
A little angle.
Yeah, so it has to be straight. So it won't have a chance at swallowing it or anything like that. So those are the main factors when it comes to targeting sharks, as far as the regulation.
Okay.
And typically, as far as the setup goes for the leader, there's no really regulations on it. As long as you want to be using 80-pound or more, if you're going to be targeting a shark, obviously, so you could bring in the shark, and have a
I
chance.
seen some people do rigs,
Mhm.
like the line for the setup
Right, right.
with the weed eater
Yeah,
line.
it was a thing back in the day
Right?
too, when shark fishermen.
Old school guys also.
Yeah, when shark fishermen were getting into it and stuff, they would use it. But now, it's all something, everything you
Yeah.
could order online.
Yeah. Now
That back then in the day, it was in the 2000s, it was harder to
get
find
the
line.
stuff, yeah.
It's harder to find 500 to 800-pound
Now,
fishing line.
what is the now not state law, but it's kind of like unwritten rules
Mhm.
that you should do?
Mhm.
Like, what are the things that you're not supposed to do? Yeah, that way you don't look like a fool
Mhm.
if you're fishing out there and you're trying to target sharks and other more experienced fishermen, because you're gonna get hate, man.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
seen people like post some pictures online,
Yep.
and it's game over. They get attacked, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, when you catch your shark, just take your picture, release it. Obviously, don't have it out completely. You could have it out of the water. Sharks, they're very strong. They'll last 5, sometimes 10 minutes, depending on
Yeah.
the species out of the water. Obviously, you don't want to do that as long as you don't have it all the way up near the sand dunes. Just by the water, by the shoreline. Get your picture, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's one thing, and just releasing it in general. If you're not gonna harvest it or do
Yeah.
anything with it, if you're just taking it for the jaws, just let it go. That's when
Yeah.
sometimes it's happened where, in some areas, I've never really seen it in South Padre, but other areas, people, just take the jaws and then leave the shark on the beach.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that
just
will kind of
waste the
give,
whole thing, yeah.
shark fishing a bad name, since obviously they're already making it stricter and a little bit harder on us,
Mhm.
for shark fishing, because there's a lot of in reality, there's a lot of sharks. If you've ever done any offshore fishing, every time if you're just an example, snapper fishing,
Oh,
every time
yeah.
you're trying,
get
you have to
shark
bring
all
your
the time.
yeah, you have to bring your snapper up quick because
Quick.
the sharks will get to it. So there's no lack of sharks, but just because they're sharks, a lot of people, are
Yeah.
they're curious about them,
No,
inspired by them,
and the other thing is, like, I truly believe in, the karma stuff.
yeah.
Like, hey,
Mhm.
if you're not gonna harvest, like you're saying, you're gonna
Mhm.
keep that shark. Like,
Yeah.
then be respectful.
Yeah, that's why a
And
lot
and,
of the
and
time, with my clients, they're, if they want to, they're able to keep a shark. There's no, obviously it's within legal size depending on the species.
what's the legal?
Depending on the species, it varies.
Let's-
Black tips, bonnetheads, hammerheads. So hammerheads, bull sharks, tigers, typically they're gonna have to be like over 6 feet. So it's gonna have to be like a mountable, larger shark. It's gonna have to be.
What's
over
the
6
most
feet.
popular one to keep for food?
Black tip sharks are pretty much the most popular, as long as it's over like 26 inches. I think 24 if I'm not mistaken, but 26 inches if it's over 26, and a bonnethead as well.
I
You
kept
could keep it.
one
Yeah, you
that
could
also
keep it.
that I caught by accident at the Yeti.
Yeah.
And I kept it. I checked regulations and everything.
Yeah,
And,
it's one per person.
dude, it was delicious.
Yeah. Very white meat. It's a little bit tougher than like a redfish or a trout, obviously, but it's very, very good. And obviously, depending on how you make it. But yeah, if my clients ever want to harvest a shark, I let them know, hey, if you guys, want to keep a shark, I'm like, you could keep one as long as it's legal size. And I always recommend, if they want to keep a smaller one, because obviously those larger sharks, the black tips, bull sharks, hammerheads, when they're that size and length, I'm not sure if you know, but sharks, when they urinate in their intestine, it goes into their meat, and then out the pores of their skin. That's how sharks urinate. So a bigger shark is gonna have like an odor. It's gonna have like a I don't know how to explain it. It has a foul odor to it. Larger shark, and obviously the meat isn't gonna taste as good. You could tell, especially a larger shark. So I inform them. I let them know.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's
they're
better
like,
to. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure, man. And the one that I kept, it was just a little over, like at that time, I think it was 24 inches to keep it.
Yeah.
It's like 26, 28 at the most. It wasn't.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fairly small, for a black tip. And I cut it in steak. A friend of mine is like, dude, make some steaks out of the meat. Just cut it straight down.
Yeah, that's something you can
like
do
the
as well.
postas, como le llaman,
Yeah,
like,
you cut steaks, and then obviously you gut it out, bleed it out.
Yeah.
Cut steaks.
I don't think I even did that, man. Like but it was delicious.
Yeah, you could cut steaks, and then usually you just cut the skin off, or you could leave it on and just cook it almost like I kind of mentioned, like almost kind of cook it like a pork chop, like you don't want it to be like a steak, medium rare.
Yeah.
You want to cook it
get
a little bit well.
Yes.
And then, with whatever seasoning you want to put on it. Blackened is really good for shark.
Yeah. That's the way I cook it.
But
is there ever a thing that or something you've been asked before by a client that you're not willing to do as far as like the sharks or the food?
No, not really. Obviously, as long as they,
not crazy.
As long as they want to keep it, and I've even had a client, sometimes they want to mount them, they ask me if I could do it for them, and I'm like,
oh, for the picture.
For a picture. And I'm like, that's something I can't do. I can't mount it. But if you get a picture of it, I get a picture of you with it, or just a picture of the shark, and even, with a ruler, just to kind of get the length and, different angles of it. A lot of the taxidermists now, they can mimic the shark.
Got it.
They'll
make a replica
of it. So I had a client that caught, it was like almost an 8-foot bull shark. It was a pretty large shark. It was about 7.5 foot, pretty large bull shark. And he contacted some people out of Florida, and they mimicked his shark, and he has it in his living room. Yeah, and it's really nice.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh man, I was gonna tell you on the same subject of like being asked anything weird, like it was about like mounting the shark for pictures. All the videos that you see of accident, with sharks are because they're playing around with the shark to take a picture,
right?
Or after the fact that they're out of the water and now they're trying to do something stupid and they get bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it's going to happen. Thankfully, I've never gotten, I guess you could say seriously bit. I've gotten nicked or, here and there, by mainly trying to remove the hook.
But that's your job as the guy.
Right, yeah. Right? So obviously, once the shark comes in, I go out there, leader in the shark, bring it in, bring it to the shoreline, get the hook out. Once it's safe, I usually prop the shark along the edge of the water or near the, in the water area. Just where it's kind of stable. Yeah. And I usually tell the clients, I kind of like make a line. I'm like, hey, 3 feet behind it. So if it does move or anything, you're far enough where it can get you, obviously near the tail. But some clients that are experienced fishermen and stuff like that, I tell them, hey, if you're comfortable, you want to get a picture with the jaws, I'm going to show you how to do it. I show them, get a quick photo, and then we release it.
Yeah. Because, man, people have no idea how strong.
Oh, yeah.
Is the shark.
Yeah, they're very, very strong animals.
I remember catching a very small one.
Mm-hmm.
It was not maybe 14 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And carefully I unhooked the shark, and I was like trying to grab it to just throw it back into the water. Yeah. Dude, that thing would twist against. Yeah. It would go against my strength. Yeah. When I was grabbing them.
Very,
they're
very
super strong. I don't know if you ever you've probably seen it. There's this very viral or popular video of a guy, going back to the accidents, trying to take a picture with a small shark, and this thing just twists and just
Yeah.
Is it the shoulder?
Yeah, I got him. I think it was
It's an old video.
Yeah, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so typically also you never want to
Don't-
grab them near the tail or near the back end of them because they could just twist and do. So whenever if it's a smaller shark and the client feels comfortable, I'll show them. So you kind of want to grab it near the jaws underneath,
Mhm.
You want to grab a firm grip there and then one at the tail. So if it does move, you have control of the head and where the head's
Yes.
going. Even if it wants to twist and turn, it's kind of like picture like a snake moving around. You have control of the head and what it's doing, obviously where the teeth are at. Versus if you grab the tail, it's just going to come back around and bite you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have control of the shark. So
Yeah.
typically when it's a smaller shark, that's how they'll get a picture with it,
Yeah.
and then I'll grab it. And
Yeah, you
let 'em
gotta
go.
educate people if
Yeah.
they want to do something like that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, thankfully out of the 5 years, never
Good.
never had any.
That-
Obviously, because I do it.
You have experience and you know what you're doing.
Doing
and
it
as
the
long as
correct
they
way,
listen, they're
yeah.
not gonna get.
keeping them safe
Yeah.
and myself. Obviously,
Eh,
I still have
yeah.
all my fingers. So
The other thing with shark that I just remember is that I know if you flip them upside down,
Mhm.
they'll stay calm. I don't know why.
yeah, they kind of almost like it's almost like a sleep
yes
paralysis that they go
Yes.
into. Yeah,
So I was gonna say sometimes you think that they're
yeah,
dead or
yeah.
something because they're upside down,
Mhm.
but once you put them back,
Yeah, sometimes even then, just by bringing
don't-
them in, just by bringing them in and having them and taking a picture and they let them go, they kind of go into like a little shock.
mhm.
So what I do is I either just tap the nose or the tail, like kind of smack the tail, and they wake up and they just go. They
Oh, I
almost go
see.
like into like a trance. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird, man. But sharks are very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. And there's like, I don't know if it's thousands. Yeah, it's probably thousands of different species
Right, right.
of sharks.
Yeah,
and-
there's a lot, obviously, depending on the coastline that you're at
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I've traveled from here to Florida and targeted different species and stuff. Around this time of year, I try to go to Florida at least once or twice in the winter. Typically, if you go like near Pensacola, Navarre area, and the Panhandle up there, you find a lot of pelagic sharks, great whites, makos of that sort. So,
Where at?
Pensacola.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I love that place,
Mhm.
man. I've been there
You're really pretty area.
4 years and stay at Fort Pickens.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I know where that's at.
The national park.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Towards the end, it's beautiful.
Mhm.
And then you're fishing, and the
Mhm.
Blue Angels are training
Yeah.
on top of you. Or if you're lucky, and it's like when they have the actual show,
Right,
because
right.
I think they only do it once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So if you're lucky and you go during that time in summer,
Yeah.
man, you're fishing there with the Blue Angels. Like
Yeah,
doing
I go there
tricks and
quite
stuff.
often.
Yeah, I love
it's
it,
a really
man.
nice place. I was actually there a couple weeks ago in Pensacola.
No way. Yeah, I love that
really-
place, man.
Really nice area.
That's one of the cities that if I have to get out of Texas, I'll probably move to.
Hmm.
But Pensacola, man.
Yeah, it's a
I love
really
it there.
really nice area.
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else that you do you want to mention? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, if they
if
want to
they're
get a hold of
interested-
me, Facebook Prodigy Fishing. Just type that in. You'll see a logo
Or
of a
Instagram
shark.
also?
Or Instagram, same thing. Prodigy Fishing. You'll see the same logo of a shark. Or they could contact my phone number. Just
Mhm.
depending.
I'll get some of your info, your
Yeah.
links, and I'll put it in the description for the
yeah.
video, man. But
Yeah,
thank
just kind of informing a little about
Yeah.
sharks and the seasons and the types of sharks we have
Yeah.
here on Top Pottery and
yeah,
what to look out for when swimming.
yeah. So
Avoid-
shark is what you specialize, but
Yeah.
if they want to go to the bay also to get some reds or
Reds, yeah,
trout,
yeah.
you also
Yeah, I'm actually in the
do
process.
you
of,
do it in a boat or
Yeah, in a boat. I'm actually in the process of trying to get an offshore boat, so I'm gonna, try to do offshore fishing as well, snapper, sharks.
yeah
fishing the
you-
rigs and
You're
stuff
all
like that.
in, man. You're
Yeah.
all in into fishing.
Yeah. So hopefully that's the goal this year is to start doing some offshore trips. So that
All right.
should be fun.
Well, Joel, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing all your stories and all your knowledge. I learned a lot.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to apply some of the tricks that you told us. And once again, man, thank you.
Thank you,
It
guys.
was awesome. It was fun.
Appreciate it.
All right.